what about the other subjects?
What?
What about your term one examination? You haven't given the term one examination, beta.
No,
And,
ma'am.
and you haven't given me the reason also.
I'm good.
Yes? Okay, let's
Ma'am,
not
I
waste the
was
time. Let's start
in
our
Punjab.
written part. Okay. Just text me personally. I want to know the reason. So let's start the class. Chapter number 3, the making of a global world. Let's start the class with the summary of the chapter. Then we shall move to the flow chart and then the textual questions. So in this chapter, we study the pre-modern world. We study about the movement of three flows, which are very important. Then the Silk Route that link the world. That there is a cultural link between the distant part of the world. Then we will talk about the food travels. Then about corn laws, its effect, the role of technology. Then Indian entrepreneurs abroad, and the very important question that is the Great Depression, the interwar economy. You can say Central Powers. Then the post-war reconstruction, the role of America, USA. Then we will also study about the group of 77 countries, G77, and the other thing is Bretton Woods Conference. So let's start our class. Look at the flow chart. Yes, it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So it is the basic concept, the flow chart, the pre-modern world. The making of a global world has a long history of trade, migration of people in search of work, movement of capital. This is collectively known as three flows. आपका I think textual question भी है. Explain the three flows, right? The moment of what we say, moment of yes, goods,
Trade,
moment,
labor,
moment of
capital.
trade and capital. Very good. Then let's talk about the Silk Route. The Silk Route over land and sea, knitting together vast regions of Asia, Europe, and Northern Africa. And this Silk Route, it is also considered as a link. It developed a cultural link between the distinct part of the world, like linking Asia with Europe and North Africa. Then we have the food travels. Next page, please turn the next page. It is given the food travels. Here we'll talk about the new crops that were introduced in various parts of the world. And the first one is the noodles. Noodles travel to become spaghetti in Italy. Some common foods travel were potatoes, soya, groundnut, maize, tomatoes, chilies, etc. And these were introduced in Europe and Asia after Columbus discovered America. Then, in this para only, we'll talk about the traders and travels. They introduced a new crop to the land they visited. The foods like we have discussed potatoes, soya, groundnuts, so we have already done. Then we shall talk about the conquest, disease, and trade. Then, first one is that the pre-modern world shrank after European sailors found a sea route to Asian America in the 16th century. Conquest, disease, and trade may you will talk about the Indian Ocean. It was a bustling trade link. Expeditions of Americans brought back precious metals in Europe to enhance their wealth. Last thing is very important. Just mark this. This thing is very important from point of view of examination. That is, the conquerors also carried germs of disease like smallpox, which proved to be deadly disease. And we will write about the El Dorado. It is a fabled city of gold in South America. Okay. The next part is the 19th century. Here in your book is written 16th century. 16th century trade and conquest. Here the first thing. The European sailors found a sea route to Asia and discovered America. Goods, people, customs, and knowledge were the few things due to which in subcontinent was famous for in trading. A transformation followed after the discovery of America due to the abundant land, minerals, and vast land. Yes, in Peru and Mexico, precious metals were found, especially silver, which helped Europe in financing its trade. Then the Portuguese and Spain conquest and colonization of America followed, and weapon used by them was small pox. Here, if the question comes regarding reender pest, आपने उसके बारे में लिखना है. 3 or 4 marks का क्वेश्चन आपको एग्जाम में आता ही आता है. Last point is this smallpox disease, which was used as a weapon by European traders, is reached deep into the subcontinent ahead even of many European reached there. It killed and decimated whole communities, paving way for the conquest. So the first page is clear to everyone regarding the pre-modern world, 16th century trade and conquest, the food travels, the Silk Route. It is clear. If it is clear, then I shall move to the next part. Yes, speak. Are you there or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now the next part. It is 19th century. The world economy takes place. It's in a book on page number 57. So, the very important thing from this topic is the corn law. ये आपको 2 marks में आता है. This question will come for the 2 marks in your exam, corn laws. So, a world economy takes place. Herein we'll talk about the corn laws, and the first very important thing was abolition of corn law. So due to the pressure of landed groups, there were some restrictions from the government on the import of food grains. After the abolition of corn law, it was easier to from food import the food from them into Britain more cheaply than it was to be produced in the country. The British farmers found it difficult to compete with the imports because of this vast land was uncultivated. As there was in fall in food prices, consumption of Britain rose because population बढ़ गया था and food prices continuously fall करे. The last one is higher income and food imports in Britain led to a faster industrial growth. Then we shall talk about the role of technology. Again, here we'll talk about the railways, steamships that were invented in the 19th century. Then we'll talk about the refrigerated ships. So railways, steamships, and telegraphs were invented, and it helped in the transportation of perishable goods. Perishable goods होते हैं जो easily खराब हो जाते हैं. And it traded in meat exchange. Meat, a luxury, became cheaper with development of refrigerated transportation facility. Then the late 19th century colonialism, the European conquest of Asia and Africa as colonies, and the paper partition of Africa and Europe only. Colonized societies were exploited economically, socially, and were brought into the world economy. Nextly, we have on page number 62, that is the re-pest cattle plague. Who will explain re-pest cattle plague? Yes, girls, who will explain?
May I?
Yes, Arlene.
Ma'am, it was the cattle plague that came, ma'am, it moved from cattles that were shipped from Delhi, shipped in the trains, and these ma'am, these kettles were sent for the British Italian armies, and when they reached the South Africa, they finished half of the cattle there, and it caused a great depression in South Africa. People lost a lot of cattle there.
Good, good, good. It killed more than 90% of the cattle, and at that time,
Ma'am,
जो
you
reindeer
know,
pest था, yes, at that time, जो main occupation क्या था? What was the main occupation of the people of Africa? They were agriculturists. ठीक है? So the reindeer pest cattle plague, a fast-spreading cattle plague in Africa, and the disease affected the fortunes of the thousands of people in Africa. So Europeans came to Africa to establish plantation mines, and lot of cattle left African jobless. employed by European in the mines and plantation site. From from this point you have to add more point. I'll send you the notes today. इसके अलावा आपने बहुत कुछ ऐड करना. This is incomplete. I think the incomplete explanation. Apart from this, you have to add more points like 90% of the cattle were killed and it entered Africa like a forest fire and reached African Atlantic coast in the year 1892. Clear? ये आपने points add करने हैं. Then you read about the loss of cattle destroyed the African livelihood and the planters, mine owners, and government now successfully monopolized the cattle resources, which were very scary in amount. Then the next para on page number, yeah, on page number 63 only, 2.4, indentured labor migration from India. The other word for indentured labor is, yes, other word is,
मैम बॉन्डेड
yes,
लेबर।
bonded labor. Again, don't think बेटा जो न्यू वर्ड्स आपको दिए होते हैं दिस आर नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट, दिस आर इम्पोर्टेंट. लास्ट ईयर में बेगर बेगर के बारे में आया था, एक्सप्लेन बेगर. ये आपके है इसी चैप्टर में आई गेस, रिगार्डिंग द बेगर, रिगार्डिंग द यूटोपियन सोसाइटी, सब कुछ. रीड द न्यू वर्ड्स आल्सो. दिस कैन आल्सो कम इन द बोर्ड एग्जाम. दिस कम्स, आते हैं. Okay, so it is the thousands of Indians and Chinese migrated as laborers in African mines and plantations and construction projects. Indians left their hometown country due to the decline in cottage industries, lost the production of crops in dry regions, and they become indebted. They even don't know where they are going, for how many years they are going. कुछ भी नहीं उनको पता था. Then they became indebted and were forced to migrate in search of work. The recruitment, the job was given by the agents. Sometimes agents forcefully abducted less willing migrants for their commission, etc. V.S. Naipaul, Chandrapal, Ramnaresh Sarwan were all Indian descendants of indentured labor migrants. Then the Indian trade, colonization, and the global system. So as we all know, India is famous. India was famous for the fine cotton, and this cotton was exported to Europe. And tariffs mean taxes, duties imposed on import of cloth in Britain. Indian textiles at that time faced stiff competition and the raw cotton was exported to Britain, the British cotton textile industries. Indigo and opium production increased in India to finance the tea from China, and tea was consumed by the elite class in Britain. So multilateral settlement system worked in helping the Britain balance its deficit. Now let's talk about the Indian entrepreneurs abroad. So when you talk about Indian entrepreneurs abroad, it is Indian bankers and traders, the merchants. They started financing the export trade of agriculture in Central and Southeast Asia. The people developed a sophisticated system to transfer money over large distances, and they even established a flourishing emporia at busy ports worldwide, selling local and imported curios to tourists. So in this page, regarding the 19th century, the world economy takes place, the role of technology, the 19th century colonization, the re-entry and the indentured labors from India, the trade, Indian trade, and the Indian entrepreneurs abroad. Is clear? It is clear. Speak, beta.
यस मैम।
हाँ. Next is the interwar economy. When you talk about the interwar economy, इसमें बेटा दो चीजें आती हैं आपकी. Wartime transformation, again a wartime transformation. So under first thing, we shall study about the First World War. Again, this thing, Elise and the Central Pass. इसको आप पढ़ लो, मार्क कर लो बुक
यस
में. Elise and the Central Pass, ये अगेन आपको एग्जाम में आता है. 1 या 2 मार्क्स में आ जाएगा. Name the Elise Pass, name the Central Pass. So what are the countries which were called as Elise Pass? They were Britain, France, Russia, and the USA.
यूएसए।
Central powers consist of Germany, Austria, Hungary, Italy, and Ottoman Turkey. Now tell me, first world war में कौन सी countries जीती थी? Which countries won the first world war?
Allies.
Allies or allies? Yeah, Allies power won the first world war. And this was the first modern industrial war. Used tanks, machines, guns, aircraft, chemical weapons, etc. And millions died, reducing the able-bodied workforce in Europe. At that time, mark this last point very, very important. Just write it somewhere else. The war transformed US from international debtor to international creditor. Now, let's still talk about the wartime transformation. Apart from the First World War, there was a huge, you can say the changes took place in Britain. Britain became the leading economy facing a prolonged crisis. Britain under huge external debt. It was under the huge external debt. And the First World War led to an economic boom. Boom of the rise. The post-war led to unemployment. In agriculture too, after the World War, wheat production fell in Europe and increased in Canada, America, and Australia. The grain prices fell, rural income declined, leaving farmers into debt. As farmers were unemployed थे, the grain prices were drastically fell down and decrease हो गए, and the rural income declined, leaving farmers into debt. Clear? If the economy is clear. Now on topic number 3.3 on page number 69. That is the rise of mass production and consumption. In US, the war had boosted its economy. Here you will write about the role of the steam model. Henry Ford के बारे में आपने लिखना है इसमें. So important feature of economy was a mass production. Henry Ford was a pioneer in the mass production. He followed assembly line technique for its success. This practice was widely followed in Europe also, and the credit system introduced to increase the purchasing power. इसी credit purchases system की वजह से this system led to the Great Depression. It led to the boom in the housing and consumer goods too. People started buying goods on credit. Then we have the Great Depression. Very very important. Mark this point is very very important. Beta this topic. This Great Depression began in US in the year 1928, and reasons were the fall in agricultural price, the stock market crash, overproduction of agricultural goods, then bank failures, then we have unemployment. So many overproduction of agriculture products. Many countries got finance through loans from the US banks. This led to the failure of some banks and collapse of currency. Prices fell. US also fell into its trap power. It led to the boom in housing and consumer goods, and the banks closed. Unemployment leading to Great Depression. And the last again very very important. What are the effects of the Great Depression on Indian economy? The answer is here. India's exports and imports fell. Peasants producing for the world market were the worst hit. Peasants' indebtedness increased and they sold their precious metals to meet their expenses, notably gold and silver. India became an exporter of precious metals, and India gold export promoted global economic recovery and helped speeding up the Britain recovery. Industrial investment grew in urban India as government extended tariffs production to industries. Also, you write about the jute producers of Bengal. Wheat production, jute production, इसके बारे में आपने लिखना है. Then the last thing is here, rebuilding the world economy post-war era. It is on page number 74. So, again, the World War II, the two central powers, allies in the central powers. Under allies, we have Britain, France, and Soviet Union and USA. Under Central Power, we have Nazi Germany, Italy, and Japan. We know it was a war over land, sea, and air, and this war waged for more than 6 years. 3% of the world's population was killed, millions were injured, and So this led to the emergence of the US as dominant economic, political and military power and the dominance of Soviet Union and emerged as world power. Then the Bretton Woods Institution that we already know. It was a conference held in July 1944 at Bretton Woods in New Hampshire, USA to deal with the external surpluses. For this purpose, IMF, the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, which are known as the twin brothers, were set up to finance a post-war reconstruction. These were known as the Bretton Woods twins, and the USA had a special right of veto. Veto powers the USA के पास over the key IMF and World Bank. Then the post-war international economic system is known as Bretton Woods systems, and the system was mainly based on the fixed exchange rates. Last part is your new international economic order NIEO, as most of the developing countries did not benefit from the fast growth of the Western economies. So at that time they organized themselves as a different group. So they established the group of 77 companies to demand the new economic order, international order. So it was mainly a system that would give them the main control over their natural resources. And this NIEO, we can see the group of 77 companies, these 77, it would help them in better access for their manufactured goods in developed countries. So this was all about the chapter number 3. This was all about the flow chart. Started from here, that is a pre-modern world. Then 16th century trade conquest, the re-enterprise disease, the role of technology, the interdependence abroad, the bonded labor, the concept bonded labor, then First World War, the transformation of US from international debtor to international creditor, the Great Depression, the causes of Great Depression, and the India and the Great Depression. The Bretton Woods Conference again very important, and the G77 companies. So the chapter is clear to everyone. Yes, girls. Chapter is clear. If it is clear, we shall move to the textual part. Yeah. Speak. Chapter is clear. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
So mark the important questions from the chapter. Marks all उसको बेटा. Take out your yes. Page number 78. Take out your books. The very important questions are write a note on. No doubt ये आपको short answers में दिए हैं, but this can come in the long answers too. So Bretton Woods Conference. ठीक है, first point. Yes. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
देखो mark करो बेटा. This question number three, effects of the corn law. Then re-enter पर space disease 3 marks में definitely question आता है आपको, definitely आएगा ही आएगा. The Great Depression, this can come for the short answer also, the long answer too. दोनों में आएगा ये. And Great Depression में you have to write the effects on India if it is asked. The reasons also. Forget question number 6. No. Then yeah, eighth question, causes of Great Depression. Yes, it can come. G77 can come in the short answer. The Bretton Woods 2 can come in the short answer. Then you will write about the global transformation of disease. इसके अलावा the three movements of flows. This is important. Yeah. हाँ. The role of technology also. ये कुछ 4-5 टॉपिक्स हैं which are very important. ठीक है, इसको पढ़ लेना. कोई डाउट होगा प्लीज यू आर फ्री टू आस्क मी एट एनी टाइम. And yeah, do well. I'll send you notes to you today. After the class,
You
maybe.
can please repeat it again.
What beta? Yes, Sakshita, what do you want? I'm saying I will send the notes today of this chapter, which I have
And the
taught you.
important questions.
Question number 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9. Okay?
Thank
So,
you.
any doubt in today's class? Could doubt hai? If it is not, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, on Thursday, we shall start with the next chapter. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Yeah? Leave the class. All of you, please leave the class 10 by 10. Then I'll start.
Thank you,
Then
ma'am.
I'll end the class.
Thank
Okay,
you,
dear.
ma'am.